Last week, CSGO got a new music kit, sticker capsule and weapon case. At least one skin from that new case has contained plagiarised content. The skin in question was the AWP Doodle Law, which looked like this, and now it's been swapped out for the AWP Duality, which is made by different skin artists. But there's more to this story than first meets the eye, and rather concerningly, it may just be a symptom of a deeper problem within the skin workshop, and one that's growing. Plagiarism. Because when there's money on the line, it gives people an incentive to cheat in order to get the upper hand. This whole situation was brought to light by the Danidem on Twitter, who had been tipped off that something wasn't quite right with this entry and remarked on Twitter about just how quickly the Doodle Law's artists' work had improved in just a matter of days. No one could improve that much in a span of less than a month, he says. Danidem is no stranger to this sort of detective work. As an example, here's another skin made by the Doodle Law's creator. Check this out. Danidem used to be a moderator for a large online art hub, and used to detect many instances of stolen work back then as well. He says at this point they're like Sudokus, which he likes to attempt to beat in under 5 minutes. In this case, with great success. As for the Doodle Law, it turns out it contains some artwork originally made by an artist known as Vex, who you might know because he's already got 3 million subscribers on YouTube. Check him out here and don't forget to smash his subscribe button. His artwork has seen considerable success in other fields already. And he filed a DMCA takedown request on the Doodle Law, and within days of this, Valve had swapped the stolen AWP skin out for another one. This isn't the first time this has happened. You probably already know the tale of the Howl skin. This was in the early days of CSGO, and when this artwork was discovered to have been stolen, Valve swapped it with their own very similar looking design and discontinued production of the Howl by putting it in its own special contraband category, causing the value of any existing Howl skins to skyrocket due to newfound rarity. Understandably, they haven't wanted to do this since, because it would encourage bad habits, like where you deliberately steal other people's work to make a skin, then when it's featured in the game you hoard a bunch of them in the hope that when the plagiarism is detected, they too become contraband and super valuable. So that's probably why Valve doesn't make contraband items these days. And since then, a few other cases have come to mind where Valve has quietly remedied stolen skin situations behind the scenes, and without too much commotion. There was one time I remember when I was reaching out to all the skin makers to hear their stories, and one of them immediately blocked me and disappeared off the face of the earth. At the time I remember feeling sad, thinking I had offended him in some way, but it later turned out he had stolen his work, and I guess thought I had rumbled him and had then come to investigate. Valve swapping the plagiarised skin out for a new one sounds like an easy solution, but it isn't without its own problems. For instance, what if some owners of the Doodle Law preferred that design better, and don't like the new design it's been swapped out for, which they now find in their inventory even though they had no say in the matter? Don't get me wrong, the Duality is an awesome skin, but I'm talking about personal tastes here. Because real artists can give you real, valid reasons for why you shouldn't prefer the Doodle Law to the Duality. They can point out that, since it was plagiarised by someone who can't draw, that the result is inconsistent in quality or in style. Or they can say how the new Duality skin is objectively better in these regards, thanks to the skilled artists who worked on it. But all this won't stop some people from still preferring the Doodle Law, because art is subjective and some people will prefer an objectively inferior piece, simply because they prefer it and that's like their opinion, man. But obviously yes, plagiarised material shouldn't remain in the game, or should at least have some deal struck up with the original artist behind that content. I wouldn't know about all this because all this would go on behind the scenes. An interesting problem that could occur from swapping skins out is the issue of float values. Float values determine how much wear the skins can have. The Doodle Law could range between 0 and 0.8, whereas the Dualities only ranges between 0 and 0.7. So it means that of the pre-existing skins that were transformed into Dualities, there could be some with float values more than 0.7, which are now impossible to obtain from new unboxings. This could mean that pre-update Dualities could become a rare and incredibly valuable commodity for skin collectors. Though, sorry to spoil your fun, but Valve seems aware of this, so don't expect it to remain a thing for too long. And I guess the last concern that Valve might have is that the plagiariser, from before the time they were caught, had access to sensitive information about the case sales, and now they've been caught and have nothing to lose. What might they do with that information? Valve has guidelines for skin makers to follow. These are all featured in Valve's style guide, and it advises against weapon skins using large portions of solid colours, the usage of full black, or of oversaturated skin designs, due to the unnatural way that these things interact with CSGO's environments. These are not steadfast rules, merely guidelines which can be broken should the artist deem it beneficial for their designs to do so. A skin maker told me that recently Valve has been picking increasing numbers of skins which do violate these guidelines, speculating that maybe they've changed the person who is picking the skins to feature in the game. Of course, all this is speculation, but I do love speculation, and I suspect it drives the skin makers when it comes to planning what they'll make next, and in which sort of style. But skin makers aren't just given guidelines, for there are also rules which skin makers must follow. I'll link to this page in the description, but as an example of what it contains, here's one of the FAQs. Question: I made a cool sticker or weapon skin using a picture I found on the internet. Answer: firstly, that's not a question, it's just copyright infringement. Even if you traced it, changed the colours, or don't think anyone can tell, you don't own it and we can't ship it. It'll get removed and you might get a workshop community ban. Just don't do this. Blah 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 blah, please make your own art from scratch. The AWP wasn't the only skin in the new case to have its origins questioned. The M4A4 Tamaku is part of a collection of skins where several share similarities with pre-existing artwork. It's not for me to judge, but here is the evidence that has been put forward, showing the skin's designs against pre-existing artwork found online. Even the accepted M4A4 skin has come under fire, with the woman's hair bearing a striking resemblance to an image found online from 2016. The skin's maker has remained adamant that his skin designs are 100% his own original works, has provided sketches to try and prove this, and says that yes, he is sure it is similar, but not 100% the same. And as of making this video, unlike the AWP, the M4A4 remains in the collection, and the battle over what constitutes original work and what is deemed plagiarism continues. There could be more instances of it happening with other skins featured in CSGO, and some skin makers have expressed their concerns to me that it's sending the wrong message for Valve to wait for DMCAs to be issued from the original artists before taking down suspect content. It might be sending the message that plagiarism is okay, so long as you're not caught, or in this case, DMCA'd by the artists who originally made the works. Vex, the artist behind the original artwork on the AWP, who did DMCA the AWP that was using his design, has now expressed his interest in becoming more directly involved with CSGO's weapon skin designs. Besides, his work has already proven itself to be good enough to get featured in the game, he might as well benefit from it. And if you're an artist and think that your work is being plagiarized by a skin that's already in CSGO, and you don't know what you can do about it, then check out this video's description for a link to Valve's DMCA page, which is where you should go to submit your own report.